Pollution, in particular air pollution, has become a huge problem over the last century. This is a graph of the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere over the past 800,000 years, and you can see at one point it kind of goes up a little bit, and that would be the Industrial Revolution. The three main human activities that deposit air pollutants are mining, the creation of electricity through power plants, and industry. And the biggest one of all is the burning of fossil fuels through things like automobiles and airplanes. And here are some of the main pollutants that get released from all of the activities that I just talked about. And I have another little visual to show you how much of these pollutants are in the air over the past 50 years. And you can see that it's actually starting to go down, which is great. So what are the effects of all of these chemicals and pollutants? When humans inhale certain pollutants, it can cause severe lung damage and lung disease. Also, it can exacerbate asthma. Here's a kid who is running and who has asthma and he's having issues. Now he's sad. The effects of air pollution on people's lungs is especially harmful to old people, sick people, and young people. Another issue not directly related to human health is photochemical smog, which essentially blocks sunlight. So here's New York, and here's New York after photochemical smog. And all of the air pollutants I talked about earlier have really been contributing to climate change, which we'll explain in a bit. Luckily, in the United States, we have been passing laws and acts to try to keep this air pollution problem down. Most notably is the Clean Air Act, which was written in 1970 and amended once again in 1990. It created the EPA, which set up emission tests for your cars and lots of other things like that. Alright, and now pollution's effect on water. So here's the Earth, and the Earth is covered in a lot of water, but only 2% of it is fresh water. And of that 2%, only 50% of it is accessible at a time. It's accessible in lakes and rivers, ice caps, and aquifers, which are underground deposits of fresh water. And these freshwater sources are really not evenly distributed across the world. This is a representation of rain, kind of. Humans have really messed up the hydrological cycle. One of the things humans have done is deplete aquifers, which are a huge source of fresh water worldwide. So as we deplete aquifers, means that there's less water available. Also, depleting aquifers may cause saltwater intrusion, which poisons the fresh water and makes it undrinkable. One piece of evidence of how much humans have messed up the hydrological cycle is the fact that 60% of the world's largest lakes and rivers have been severely depleted, and the shapes of them have even changed. Here is a picture of Lake Chad over the past 50 years. Some of the ways that we mess up the hydrological cycle are by creating dams, which displace people and confuse fish, and also water diversion projects, which have become a huge issue. All these problems that we are facing with water scarcity essentially come down to overconsumption in developed nations, which has dramatically increased over the past century. Ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is the recent trend of the decrease in pH and upcrease in acidity in the oceans. Now, with an upcrease of CO2 in the atmosphere, it means an increase of CO2 in the ocean because the CO2 cycle travels through land, water, and the atmosphere. The problems of ocean acidification are found mostly in calcifying organisms, because when there's an increase of CO2 in the water, it's harder for calcifying organisms to calcify. The most important calcifying organisms are coral reefs. Coral reefs hold a tremendous amount of biodiversity, so as coral reefs die, there will be a significant loss in biodiversity, which won't just affect fish populations, it'll also affect people that rely on coral reefs to provide them food. Climate change has become a huge issue over the past century. To understand climate change, first up we need to understand the greenhouse effect, which is essentially that the atmosphere traps some of the light radiation. And now this is very good because it keeps the temperature of our Earth kind of in balance. But the enhanced greenhouse effect is where there's more gases in the atmosphere, so the more gases trap more heat rays and therefore warm up the Earth. There's been a lot of skepticism over climate change and whether or not it's happening. But the question is not, is the Earth warming up? Because if you look at a graph, the Earth is definitely warming up. This is a poorly drawn picture of the graph, so here's the real picture of the graph. Scientists are not completely sure climate change is human caused, but we're pretty sure. Here's a list of all the chemicals that are causing global climate change and really bad pictures of what emits them. One issue we will be facing in the near future is the fact that as temperature rises, ice caps melt. And ice caps are so large that as they melt, they can actually cause the ocean to rise. As the ocean rises, it'll rise above places that are currently at or below sea level. The ocean is going to cover up such a large amount of land that it is going to cause severe habitat destruction, and it's also going to displace millions and millions of people. Studies have shown that the Earth's temperature has risen 3 degrees over the past century and is projected to rise up to 15 degrees over the next 50 years. This may not seem like a large temperature change, but think about how bad you feel when your temperature is up 3 degrees. You feel pretty terrible, and this is what is happening to the Earth right now. Over the past century, we have been severely depleting our forest resources. Why, you ask? Well, as you can kind of tell from this picture, the high demand for wood products is the primary basis of deforestation. Essentially, we need wood products for things like tables, papers, or even for burning to make electricity or warm your homes. The other main cause for deforestation is the fact that as population grows, we need more space to put our houses, and we also need more cultivatable land. So oftentimes forests are completely destroyed so that we can make agricultural sites or suburban homes. Deforestation causes all sorts of problems. One problem is that deforestation causes habitat destruction, which is the #1 cause of loss of species diversity. Also, fewer trees contribute to the problem with water scarcity because trees help to regulate the hydrological cycle. Speaking of water scarcity, that leads us into our next topic, desertification. Desertification is the loss of over 10% of an area's productive functions. There are many problems associated with desertification, and one of those is drought. Another serious problem associated with desertification is increased erosion. Another serious problem is that 90% of people living in developed countries are living in areas affected by desertification. And because developing countries have poorer economic statuses, their government has less power to fix the problems associated with desertification. And of course, the primary cause of desertification is, you guessed it, deforestation.